Okay, so you know how ChatGPT has been slightly, let's say, lobotomized lately? It seems to not really handle coding that well. And if you're like me, I tried GitHub Copilot and I really don't like it. I applied for the GitHub Copilot chat, and then like a few days later, I tried to go use it, and it says, "Oh, well, the beta has expired," or you've been kicked out, or whatever. I was like, okay, whatever. So I realized that, like, all right, I have the power to fix this myself because I've been shying away from doing my coding experiments because ChatGPT is broken or lobotomized or whatever, and GitHub Copilot, and I know there's lots of other tools. There's Amazon and blah blah blah, but I was like, I can fix this. I can do the thing that I want to do, and I can make a thing that is specific. So I came over to the playground and I was like, all right, let's try this. So I just want to show you real quick. I gave a really simple prompt. System message, you are a Python coding assistant. The user will give you instructions to help write functions. You may ask for clarification if needed, but otherwise you should only output Python code. And of course, you can change this to whatever language you want. Adhere to PEP 8, so that's the Python Enhancement Program version 8, which is basically, it sets all the standards for how to write Python Pythonically. Provide explanations of the code only if the user asks for them. So you know how like ChatGPT will be super overly verbose. And then I gave it a copy of the script that I was working on. And so then I said, write a function that loads all files into a given folder, returns a list of lists in groups of 5, include the full file path. And it just, bam, did it. I was like, cool, that's exactly what I wanted. And I was like, wait, that worked really well. So why don't I just make a chatbot that does it? So coding chatbot assistant. Since ChatGPT has been lobotomized and GitHub Copilot is broken. I got it set up here. Here's an example of the output. So for instance, I'm working on, my recent projects have been chatbots with long-term memories and KB articles and stuff. So I was like, okay, I've got this far, just write the function for me. So I told it how I want to write the function. It's a KB article with a YAML file, so on and so forth. Now, that being said, I want to show you a really cool bit. So this is the output. You can see it's pretty familiar. So it gives you like, okay, you need to import this. Let's do this. Here's a couple functions. And it thought through it and gave it a very, very, very specific output. I haven't tested this code yet, but like this is very much the behavior that I want to see. So now let me explain to you how the chatbot works. So we'll go through the code real quick. It's pretty straightforward. It's 105 lines of code, so like not the most complicated thing. And actually, some of this is superfluous. I actually think that I don't use the YAML functions anywhere. So I could probably delete that and make it even shorter. All right, so ignore those helper functions. Here's the call to GPT. Super simple. You just call it, you get the text response. And then what I started doing is I just pass back the token count so that I can manage the conversation internally. But pretty much this whole thing here is just if there's an error, it will give you some output. So for instance, if the context length is too long, it'll trim the conversation and try again. It'll let you know what happened. If another error happened, it'll output the whole thing. Sometimes it's not available or whatever. OpenAI has gotten a lot better, but sometimes you'll have network errors and other stuff. And what this does is it uses exponential backoff. So every time it retries, it doubles the amount of time that it'll wait to try again, and it'll give you debug output the whole time. And then I've got this function. So this is a multi-line input function, which it will switch into this mode if you want to update a scratch pad. So in this case, the scratch pad is just a plain text file that it uses to load into the system message. So I've got that system message that I showed you, and then a description of the below code scratch pad may be provided by the user, blah, blah, blah. And so then I wrap it in the comment. So that way it knows like, hey, this is Python. And then it'll copy paste your code into it from the scratch pad. And so what you can do is first it'll take, input from the user. And then if you type in scratchpad, it will give you a chance to update the scratchpad, which is, you can put anything in it. You can put in code, you can put in comments, whatever. You can put in a file system description, whatever you want. But the point is that it will use this function so that it will continue to accept new lines of input without breaking. And so then if you type end at the very end, then it says, okay, cool, save, exit. I strip that out of the end, and so on and so forth. So there you go. Let's see. That should be about it. Oh, and then if you accidentally hit enter twice, because that can happen, it'll just go like it says, enter. Whoops, crap. I accidentally typed something. So that's going to break it. Yeah, it was very confused. Yep. Okay. Let's see. So then the other thing that I do is I accumulate all the messages, the user input and the chatbot response in a list called all messages. And I keep that separate from the conversation object that I passed to ChatGPT, that I passed to the API. And the reason is because I actually just had a Patreon supporter give me this really powerful tip, which is that if you put the system message at the end rather than at the beginning, it is much more likely to continue to adhere to the instructions that you gave it rather than drift. So apparently this, I haven't spent too much time testing it, but you know how sometimes like ChatGPT's behavior will change over time, especially as the conversation gets longer. It'll continue to kind of modify its behavior, and it'll usually kind of default back to its default behavior. If you put the system message at the very end, so what I do is I say, conversation is an empty list. I add all messages, and then I append the system message at the very end, and then I get the response. And so then once I get the response, it passes back the tokens. If the token count is over 7,500, because we've got a limit of 8,000, I just remember I remove the oldest message, so pop 0, and then I append the assistant response to all messages. So remember, all messages is kept separate, so that I can just tack on the system message separately, and then I get the output, and here it goes. So what I realized is that if you use text wrap, it'll nullify all of the new lines. So what I do is I split the new lines and then text wrap it so that if there's comments, then it won't be too long. So anyways, there you have it. The repo's up here. It's working. The only thing it's pretty well documented. I got in the habit of just using ChatGPT to produce the documentation because that makes it easier for everybody. Setup is super simple. You just need OpenAI. You need your OpenAI API key. And then the biggest thing that you need to know is to use a Scratchpad. I do have instructions in the console output, so it'll tell you how to get into the Scratchpad and then how to get out of it. And then the console will tell you what mode you're in. You can tell I was an infrastructure engineer who used Cisco switches, because I'm just like, hey, this model works. Anyways, so yeah, I think that's about it. So this is my new chatbot coding assistant, and yeah, I hope that you find it useful. Super simple, super straightforward. Yeah, let me know if you have any thoughts about how to improve it. But I think honestly, the Scratchpad is like all you need, because then you can update this out of band as well, if you want to, whatever you want to put in it, right? You can even put multiple scripts in it or multiple files or whatever. But yeah, so thanks for watching. I hope you liked it, and I'm gonna get back to coding. Bye.